Welcome to this episode of Power Your Profit Podcast. I am your host, Susie Carder, and my guest today is Ashley Connell. She's the CEO, founder of the Prowess Project, and she is one part fearless entrepreneur, one part women's advocate, landing her thought leadership pieces in Forbes, Austin Business Journal, and XXWS. For the first 15 years of her career, she was an award-winning tech marketer in both Austin and London. She's unstoppable drive to both her career and time for her family motivated her to start the Prowess Project, an integrated job training community platform that exists to help caregiving women return to the workforce as an online business manager. The proprietary tech pairs job seeking and employers based on professional skills, behavior, and compatibility. To date, 70% of women get hired in 3 months, and she's pretty much non-existent spare time. She enjoys walking with her baby girl, her bulldog, doing yoga, and spaghetti and meatballs. Please welcome my guest, Ashley Connell.
Welcome to Power Your Profits Podcast, your friendly guide in bringing your business revenue to the next level. Listen as host Dr. Susie Carder hears inspiring stories of success from her fellow entrepreneurs and transformational leaders. Prepare to make significant change to your strategies as they unravel the secrets of building multi-million-dollar businesses and the most effective tips on finance, marketing, and sales accountability. If you want to take your first steps towards explosive business growth, this podcast is for you. Without further ado, here is your host, Dr. Susie.
Oh my gosh, you are one of those best kept secrets that we all need. And whenever I say somebody needs somebody like you, they're like, what is that? They don't even know what it was. And I remember when my marketing person said, you need an OBM. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. So I am so excited to introduce our tribe and our community to a badass, right? Let's talk about you and who you serve and what your magic is and why you're so excited.
That may have been one of the best intros I have ever gotten. Yes, I do think we are the best kept secret. However, my goal this year is to make sure that we are not a secret. So thank you for having us. I'm Ashley Connell, CEO and founder of Prowess Project. What we do is we help professional women pivot in their career to be online business managers. That is a cross between a COO and a VA, and then we match them up with the CEOs who want to scale their business but don't want to run their business.
Yes, girl.
It has been magical.
And so how does someone find you, and then how do they play with you? Like, let's talk about that, because I know, but a lot of people don't know. Sure. And it scares them.
Yeah.
So many people are struggling right now in trying to be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker.
And you can't. You absolutely can't. I mean, yeah, head over to prowessproject.com. And if you are an employer who, again, is looking for fractional operations help, then we are your go-to people. And here's what I think is so important about finding an online business manager that works for you. Sure, they need to have the skills. Sure, they need to know the tech that you use. Sure, they need to know what a funnel is. But more importantly, they have to be compatible with your work style.
Yes.
Like, this is your right-hand woman. This is the Jill of all trades. I mean, she is seeing under the hood, right? Like, she is running it while you're growing the business. It has to be someone you jive with. It has to be someone that you can trust. And so we built out a technology to match CEOs with OBMs based on not just the skills, but also the work style compatibility too.
So talk about that. What does that look like? That sounds so fancy.
Oh, girl,
your
yeah.
background was tech and marketing and tech. So
yes.
What does that even look like? And that just gets me all geeked up.
Totally right. Imagine this cross between Match.com and LinkedIn. So we are doing data analysis on both the OBMs, what they can do, who they want to work for, how they like to work, as well as the CEOs. So CEO comes to us and we do a 45-minute conversation with them where we ask them questions that we built with a behavior scientist. Because again, it's not good enough to say, hey, I need help with funnels and I need help with financials.
Right.
You could go anywhere and get that. You
Right.
need your person, and the compatibility is key.
Yes.
So throw all that into our matching algorithm and send over top 3 candidates, each with a compatibility score. Let's turn this into data and science.
And so then a client comes to work with you and says, hey, Ashley, raises her hand. What does it look like? Kind of share with me your process.
So like I said, if a client comes to us, first we do an intake, 45 minutes, diving deep into not only their business, but them as a human, what they like, what they don't like, people that they've worked with before that they did or didn't like, using all of those examples. From there, we, like I said, put that into our matching algorithm and send them within 3 to 4 business days, top 3 OBM candidates, each with compatibility score, a compatibility note, resume, all of that goodness. They say, hey, Ash, I want to interview all of them. So they interview, and I want to hire Sally. They interview Sally, typically on a retainer basis.
And then what do those retainers look like? Because I know a lot of my clients get scared, and
Totally.
I tell them the difference between it's not an assistant, right? Because
No.
I'm not paying that for an assistant. So let's talk about that. How do you structure retainers? What does that look like? And why should I pay that?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, it is not an assistant at all. This is someone who is extremely proactive. They're going to get to know your business. Like a lot of the CEOs who come to us, they say, you know what, I really need, Ashley, I need someone to keep me accountable. I need someone to keep my train tracks on the tracks, or my train on the tracks. And so this person oftentimes tells the CEO what to go do in order to reach the KPIs. It is in no way an assistant, and more of a mini COO.
And so then I know retainers are all over the board. It depends on how many hours. So let's talk about, so let's look at a business. What's the range of business you work in, from startup to a certain dollar amount, or what does that look like for you?
Great question. Typically it's one of 3. It is a solopreneur who has been doing all of it by him or herself and is making about $250 and above. Mm-hmm. And they're like, look, I just cannot do it, and I want to work smarter, not harder, hand it off to someone else. Or it is a small agency who's probably doing at least $750 into the low millions. Mm-hmm. And they're, again, looking for that ops person to keep all of the projects in line and the business in line. And then lastly are tech startups who are funded and need a right-hand woman for their COO. And then that's why they would hire us. So our retainers start at 25 hours a month. Mm-hmm. However, if you really want to get rocking and rolling, we say at least 10 hours a week really, really helps you. So 40 hours a month is what I typically recommend to get started.
Awesome. And then is that based on, do you figure your fee based on sales? Do you figure, is there just a standard fee, or how do your fees work? Because that's usually what they ask me. So I'm just going to always ask me.
You're listening to another episode of Power Your Profits podcast. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Are you tired of pouring resources into strategies that don't work? Say hello to Dr. Susie Carder, your future fractional COO. With Dr. Susie in your corner, your business can skyrocket to 7 figures and beyond. With a track record of creating thriving businesses, trust that you are in good hands. Head over to coo.poweryourprofits.com and let us put some magic into your business growth. Are you tired of struggling to take your business to the next level? Power Your Profits is the game-changing book you've been waiting for. Dr. Susie Carder, creator of the Predictable Success Method, reveals her proven strategies for explosive growth. From daily operations to marketing systems, this comprehensive guide empowers you to achieve predictable revenue and profit growth. Don't miss out on this invaluable wisdom. Transform your business today. Find your copy at books.poweryourprofits.com.
Of course. So it's an hourly fee based on what you're looking for in the OBM and the expertise needed. If you are looking for someone who, on the scale from VA to COO, is just lower than a COO, that person's going to be more expensive, right? If you need someone who's going to do a lot of the execution, who you want to have them grow with you in a little bit more green, obviously that's going to be on the lower end of the spectrum. So there is a range.
And what is that spectrum? Give people
so sure, yeah. A COO is $150 an hour to $75 an hour if you're looking for a greenish OBM.
Okay, great. Perfect. So that just, again, so people say to me, Susie, I can't afford that. Well, they're not like an assistant where you have to train them how to do it. They already know how to do it. So what would take an assistant 10 hours, it might take them 2 hours because you're not going through that learning curve. They don't have to bug you. You're not training them. They're going, this is what we need. This is how we're going to do it. Because, when I first hired my first OBM, I'm like, holy cow. Right. And then
night and day.
Oh my gosh, you guys do so much more than what I even knew that they could do. So that's delicious, right?
Exactly. And we haven't even gotten into what OBMs can do with AI now. It is insane. And so we are diving in head first, helping our OBMs really leverage AI so they can do a ton of execution as well.
So give me an example of that. What would that be?
So we start off every single engagement using a tool and process that we created called the leverage locator. So they are going through your business and pinpointing the top 3 to 5 ways that if we invest in A, B, and C, time or dollars or effort, what have you, that is going to get us closest to our KPIs that we all are decided on. So we go through a full audit, and then the OBM makes the recommendations of top 3 things and then can say, hey, you want to continue on this? This is what that timeline is going to look like. This is what that project's going to look like. Let's go.
I love that. So that kind of speaks to your niching exercise, right?
Yes.
Your
yes.
niching exercise, because I couldn't wait to dig into that. I'm like, what is that? That just sounds fancy.
Whoever said there are riches and niches, chef's kiss, like 100%. So we started Prowess Project 5 years ago, and I started this because I wanted to solve my future problem of having a career and also time for family, time for children. I didn't have kids at the time, but I knew I wanted to someday, and I had no idea in my 80-hour-a-week business or tech marketing job how I was going to make that happen. So built Prowess Project for all of the caregivers who want to pivot into a more flexible role. Well, what ended up happening is a caregiver who was a marketer, a caregiver who was HR, ops, tech, they were all coming to us, and we were trying to find different part-time jobs for them. And it wasn't working because we were everything to everyone. And so we had a hard look in the mirror, fired 75% of our clients, looked and were lean for several months, and rebuilt our business just focusing on OBMs, because the vast majority of the women who were coming to us to be OBMs have what we call a patchwork quilt-like background. They have done so many different things in the corporate or professional world, but they don't have a way to piece it all together. And being that backbone of the business is really the way that they can go do that and create massive impact for CEOs.
That's awesome. So when you say you're going to do a niching exercise 2 times their revenue in 1 year, you're just looking for where the gold is, right?
Correct.
That's awesome. So let's talk about your love for social impact businesses.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, I started Prowess Project so that I could help women either returning to the workforce after caregiving, or who are caregivers could pivot in their career to something more flexible. Before I started Prowess, I looked in Harvard Business Review and found this horrific statistic that 43% of women leave the workforce to raise their children because they have no other options.
Right.
If they return after 3 years, they lose 37% of their compensation power forever. 37, like that was mind blowing to me.
Yes.
But the kicker was 97% of them would return to the workforce if they had access to flexible jobs. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we're going to do. This is the mission. We are helping all of those women who are badass project managers because they are running the home. They are doing the ops for the home that is completely transferable to be these online business managers. And I started talking to other CEOs in the Austin, Texas area, and there were so many other social impact businesses who were having the same problem of, hey, I have this great idea. I'm getting forced into becoming a nonprofit, but really I want to be a for-profit business so I can choose where I invest my dollars into my business. And so we are helping a lot of them find their OBMs to really skyrocket their growth.
I love it. So right now I'm seeing a lot of people are having a lot of challenges in the marketplace right now, right? In their business, right? Based on the economy. How are you keeping your clients in action and how are you supporting them in tackling it?
Clarity and simplicity. I say that over and over and over again and tell our OBMs to focus on it over and over and over again. And it kind of goes back to our niching too. In our leverage locator process, we are getting crystal clear and super specific on exactly who the ideal customer persona is. You only need to talk to a few thousand people, not 100,000 people. So stop with the vanity metrics and really figure out what is going to move the needle. And typically it is being very specific and having real conversations with people who you know that you can solve their problem.
Yes, girl, that's my philosophy. Less is more, less is more, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
So let's shift it a little bit and talk about you, right? And talk about in your life, right? It could be business, could be personal. What was your biggest failure, right? Learning lesson. And then what did you learn from it that really helps your business grow?
By far, my biggest failure was bright, shiny object syndrome. So first 3.5 years of the business, I was a relatively new CEO. I had a agency before, but building a tech product and tech business is an entire different ball of wax.
Yes.
And so what I didn't know what I didn't know. So I was going to all of these coffee meetings with quote unquote experts who they would tell me and give me one type of tip and, hey, maybe we should go do X, Y, and Z. So I'd come back to our team and be like, hey team, we're going to go run this way. We're going to go straight to the left. And then I would go to another coffee meeting and I would speak to someone else who'd be like, no, don't go left, go right. And I'd come back to the team and be like, oh, we're going right. So you can imagine after 3.5 years, we had a Frankenstein product.
Yes.
We were, like I said, everything to everyone. The message wasn't clear. And quite frankly, and it was my fault, the vision wasn't clear. The plan wasn't clear. The team was frustrated. And that's when I had to look at myself hard in the mirror and be like, Ashley, you have got to make a decision. You have got to focus. And yes, that's scary, saying no to a ton of different businesses that potentially could come your way. You gotta focus on one. And I had an amazing mentor who said this, Ashley, your niche strategy is a magnet, not a filter, especially when starting out. Your niche strategy is going to be all about your messaging. You are talking directly to one type of person. But as the CEO and the person who is owning the financials and owning the sales, if someone comes in who is not in your niche, you get to decide if you want to keep them or not.
Right.
So don't use it as a filter and get yourself in this like huge upside down business where you can't afford your expenses. Instead, use it as something that is attracting the right people. And having that permission was everything.
Well, I love it because it's like clean. That's your simplify, right? Leverage, clarity. So that we learn that from our own self, right? And I find people with classes, they keep taking a class and taking pieces of it versus put a plan together. Let's put a plan together. Don't just keep bubblegum, shoestring, Band-Aid, duct tape. We'll get nowhere.
Well, yes, create the plan, with someone who is a planner. I feel like that is the other problem.
Right.
It's like us CEO visionaries. I mean, my plan is oftentimes, half done, and then I have a brand new one the next week. And then you need that person as the CEO to keep you accountable.
Right.
And remind you, no, KPIs are this. We're not going in that direction. We're sticking with this. So sticking to the plan is everything.
So what's one thing, Ashley, that you want to be remembered for?
I will be remembered for helping even the playing field for women entrepreneurs. And the way that we are going to do that is by helping them leverage AI. The vast problem that we see for women who are starting their own business or have their own business is imposter syndrome. By utilizing AI, your imposter syndrome goes from debilitating to you can get 70% of the way there, and the extra 30, if your client needs to bring on an expert, bring on an expert. But it's really becoming this imposter syndrome killer, and I am loving it. So empowering.
That's awesome. So how do people play with you? I know I downloaded your video. So how do they get that video to see if hiring an OBM is right for them and how to get matched?
Yeah. So head on over to prowessproject.com, and it is y dash hire an OBM, all the dashes in between. And download that. It's a video that really walks you through, hey, is this for me or not? What could life look like if I had someone to do all the work that is not in my zone of genius?
Oh, I love it. So I'll put that in the show notes. If you love this conversation, you love spending time with Ashley, she feels like she is in line with your vibe, because we both believe it is a chemistry, right? And having
totally
take that over for you, I want you to reach out to her. And again, if this made an impact for you and somebody is looking for an Ashley, because there's so many people that have no idea you exist and companies you exist. And so I appreciate your time. I appreciate who you are. And more importantly, thank you for the work that you do for us, because I can't do my business without people like you.
Well, thank you. That means the absolute world to me and the hundreds of OBMs that we have waiting in the wings to work with CEOs who really want to scale. So thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Get more done in half the amount of time. That's what we're talking about. You
Amen.
Want to get on Ashley's website. We'll have everything in the show notes. And Ashley, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Power Your Profits podcast. Let these building blocks from today's most successful industry leaders equip you with the necessary resources and tools to finally establish the highly profitable business of your dreams. Want to hear more? Listen to more episodes at www.poweryourprofitspodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Now is your time to rise to the top of your game. So be sure to catch our next episode. Until next time.